Well, now at this point, once we have looked through our music sheet, our sheet music, we have understand how to read all the notes with their duration and with their pitch, with their pitches. Now we have to apply everything we learn at the piano. And the first thing that we are going to do now is this. Since we have said that we need to have a sound of reference, which of course is middle C, and we have found it on the sheet music. We already know how to read middle C in treble staff and on the treble staff and on the bass clef, on the bass staff. Now we have, of course, to find it on the piano. So now I want to give you a very useful method, a very easy method to find this note on the piano, to find middle C on the piano. So really there are two different methods. The first one is easier, but it's not so precise as the second one. So let's start with the first. When I sit at the piano, I sit at the middle of the piano. I sit in the central position. This is the right way to sit down, to sit at the piano. And so in front of my body, I do have in front of my body, I do have one C note, and this C note is middle C. So if I'm sitting in the correct position, I mean standing in the central part of the piano, in the central part of it, now if I get my hand in this direction, this will be the middle C. Okay, so this is the first method, but of course we have already said it is not so precise, because sometimes I'm not sitting in the correct way, or maybe I have to find middle C even if I'm not sitting down, if I'm not sitting at the piano, maybe only watching, only looking at the keyboard without sitting at the piano. So the second method is more precise, and I think it is something very, very easy and very useful for you. So before we start, I have to say that now you are not looking, you cannot see every part of the keyboard, because the video cannot take all the keyboard. But however, I will explain it in a very complete way, so that you can understand everything anyway. So the first thing that you have to understand is that every common piano is made up of several keys, of course, and if we take a look at the different keys, we find that there are 7 octaves. What is an octave? An octave is an interval between one note, for example the C, and the following C, or this is an octave, this other is an octave. Of course, this is if we are talking about the C note, but if I'm talking about the A note, will be the other octave. But to find middle C, now we are going to consider only octave in the context of C. Okay, so we have in the context of C notes 7 octaves. So take a look. Let's take a look at this. This is the first octave, so I have to start from the lowest C. I still have other two sounds which are lower than the lowest C, but we are not considering these sounds for the moment. So if I start from the lowest C note, I have the first octave. This is the first. Then I have the second octave, the third. This is the third octave, the fourth, the fifth, the sixth, and the seventh octave. Okay, so we have 7th octave on any common keyboard, on any common piano, I mean. So if I have 7 octaves, I would have 8 C notes. Of course, this is quite intuitive. This is something intuitive. So now we have to count every C of our keyboard, starting from the lowest, from the lower C, the lowest C. So I start from the first. This is the second C, third C, fourth C, fifth C, sixth C, seventh C, and again I go up to the 8th C. So how can I find find middle C? I have to start from the lowest C, which is the first C, and then I have to move and to find the 4th C, starting from the lowest. So first, second, third, fourth, these, so the 4th C starting from the lowest. This is something very important, because if I don't start from the lowest, I will have to count in a different way. So starting from the lowest, the lowest C, I will have that middle C correspond to the 4th C of the keyboard. So this is how can I say? It is not possible to mistake in this way if I count this way. So this is a very simple, very easy, but very useful method, and I suggest you to use always this one. So especially for the first times, I mean, you have to take some confidence in playing piano. So for the first times, I suggest you to start with this method. Then in a second moment, when you get used to finding middle C, it doesn't matter. Okay, you can just you can just sit down in front of it at the middle of the piano, and so you will easily find middle C in this way. Okay, in the next video we are going to look how to point out something very important. So how can we find middle C also in other kinds of keyboards? Because maybe you don't have a common piano, you don't have a piano with 8 octaves, and so you have a smaller one, and with lower numbers of keys, and so it will have a lower number of octaves. So how can we find middle C in that situation? Now we are going to look at it in the next video.